leads get paid $120 an hour, cap out at 10 hours, which is $1,200, plus $200 for engagement sessions, which are paid separately.
Yeah, Tom, excited to talk with you again, and especially really diving into building an associate team. And just for those who maybe haven't listened to other episodes I've done with you or seen any interviews I've done with you, give us just a brief cap on like where you were and where you are now, before and after joining the WLMA, milestones you've hit, all that type of
Yeah.
stuff with your wedding photography and filmmaking business.
Yeah. So, hey, friends. For those who don't know my mug and my face, my name is Tom Russo. I'm based out of the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. I own Tom Russo Photography, and we've been in the business for about 8 years now. This is our 8th season shooting weddings, 5th consistently, but 8th season shooting weddings. I joined WLMA back in 2019. This is probably like our 7th talk we've had, Jord, on just things that I've accomplished, that we've accomplished together. So when I joined WLMA back in 2019, it feels like ages ago. I was a little hermit in my room. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't even know at one point what a brand was, what a brand position was, what core values were, what missions. I had no clue. All I knew is that I wanted to be a wedding photographer. I knew I had some sort of experience, some sort of knowledge, and I discovered photography through college. I attended Montclair State, and I graduated 2016. I did a few odd and end jobs here and there. I worked 3 full-time jobs, 2 of which were contract. The other one was a true full-time, 40 to 60 hours a week with this company. And then I, went full-time freelance. I was still living with my parents at the time. I really had no source of good income. I was just kind of skating by, paying my own bills. My parents helped me out as best they can. And then, I found you guys. I'll never forget the day I was sitting in the mall where my parents live, and I was outside American Eagle. I was scrolling through Facebook, and your ad popped up, and I said, "All right, let's just try it. And what do I got to lose?" And I remember when I joined, I thought it was expensive for the program at the time. And I don't want to spill how much I paid to join the WLMA versus what people pay now, because no one will like me for that. However, it was your beta version, so rightfully so. I remember clicking on the webinar and joining it, and I was instantly hooked. I sat there for days and months and weeks and a year and just hunkered down, thinking that 2020 was going to be my year. And I remember saying to a friend of mine at the time that, I can't wait for next year, meaning 2020. I was going to have this awesome portfolio built. I was really excited to create and just to get myself started. And then obviously the pandemic hit, we shut down. And to be honest with you, Jord, I think that was the best thing that could have happened for me in my business. To be very, yeah, I know it's like, well, you shut down, you didn't work. No, but seriously, I mean, looking back at what, let's say, March and April were for that year, even just when it comes down to the numbers, I was able to really sit down and figure out all of those things I didn't know. Brand position, mission statement, ideal client, editing, artistry, all this stuff that you don't, as a business owner, in the very beginning, think you have to think about. So that was my time. I mean, those days on Zoom, for those who are watching and listening, those are our core group of people who were on those Zoom calls day in and day out, 8 hours a day. For those who know him, Steve Skarupa, shout out to you, buddy. Miss you, man. I hope everything is well. And we would sit on these Zoom calls. We'd get up at 8 a.m. and we'd get off at 5. And people pop in and out, in and out, in and out. And Steve and I would be the last 2 on every day, just chit-chatting. He would fall asleep. I would get up. People would join. Hunter would come in, Christora, Aiden, and you and even Crystal would come in sometimes. And we just built this beautiful community of people. And that really helped me propel forward to having a relatively successful, season, all things considered. And then 21 rolled around and 22 rolled around. Now we're into 2023. And I can tell you that the brand and the business has grown exponentially. We have expanded, and I know we're going to get into a lot of that, but we have expanded so much. We've hit all ends of this New Jersey market in the Philadelphia region. And I'm just super excited for what's to come. I was talking about before we jumped on here today about what we have established already for next season, and I'm going to definitely talk more about that. I'm just super stoked for everything, and everyone asks me, how'd you get started, or where do you, credit your success, and I credit it to you guys. A lot of what I know is learning through you and Crystal, as well as the methods you teach, alongside of just collaborating with people and learning what not to do in a business versus what to do in a business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's been so cool seeing your journey, because I remember when we were first talking, I remember you said you're maybe making like 500, 1,000-ish a month. 9 months in, hitting your first six figures, you already hit a $450,000 a year with you and your team of associates, which we'll dive into, close hitting a $500,000 a year. So this is super, super exciting. So let's dive into associates and all that stuff, because we have a lot of members wanting to build associate teams. People are interested on scaling through this process as well.
Sure.
So one of the first questions I want to dive into is, when did you decide to add on associates? Was it when you hit a certain threshold with your workload? What did that decision process look like for you before hiring your first associate?
So for me, it was opportunity. I was in a state of kind of, what direction do I want to take this business? Do I want to be a solo entrepreneur, however you say it? If I want to be just me, or if I want to have a team. And I knew that, I was getting a lot of inquiries. This is really what sparked the idea. I was getting a lot of inquiries for doubles and triple dates, and I had to turn them away. And it sucked. It was awful, because I was like, well, this is money going out the door. And, I hate tying money to success. Money does not determine someone's success. It should never, ever should. What it was for me was, I was missing out on potential income. I knew that this was my main source, and I had moved out. I was, living where I am now, down near Philadelphia in Collingswood, and I needed some sort of extra income at that point. We were, Marley and I were trying to figure out, what do we want to do? And I realized that if I could capitalize on the bookings, meaning having 2 weddings in the same day with the team, I knew if I could do it once, I probably could do it again. So I sat down and I said, okay, I need to find photographers. Who can I hire to be associates for my brand? And I put a post out on Indeed and LinkedIn, and I got a bunch of hits, and I hired 6 people on the spot. And that was a mistake. I wasn't ready. It was. I know. I wasn't ready. I was like, cool. Yeah, I was a mistake. No, I love them dearly. There's 3 left. Yeah, 3 of the original 6 are still with us on the team. Yeah. We've obviously added a lot more since then, but it was a mistake. I wasn't ready. I remember talking to Crystal about this, and she gave me some great ideas. And I remember the first time that I did it, I was floored that it actually worked. But I was like, all right, well, that's just once. You got to do it 3 times for actually it to work. And the next 2 times it didn't work. I just didn't have enough work for them. I had no guidelines in place. I didn't really have any flows. I didn't have any flow to anything. I just started booking weddings, doubling it, and making it up as I go. And luckily, the people that I hired, they stuck around. They were like, yeah, we're here for it. We know it's, starting out. And I knew that I wasn't going to have a lot of work for these people, but I knew if they just hung on, that I would have associate work for them. So yeah, it was a mistake in the beginning.
From what you've learned from that experience, and then hiring more, and a lot of those things that maybe you realize you shouldn't have done, things that you should have done, what does your hiring process look like now to kind of bring in great talent? And
That's a great question. So what it looks like now, flash forward 2 years. So essentially, we have 3 tiers. This goes for photo and for video. We have a full on video department as well, who my best friend and lead photographer Nick, he manages it all, while Marley and I manage the photo aspect of it all. Marley actually manages a lot of both. Anywho, so the hiring process is very simple, but it's warranted for what we do. Okay, so essentially you apply. and we kind of look at your portfolio. If we're looking to hire fewer people, which we are towards the tail end of this year, we'll gear up for next season and try to hire some new people, enough time to train them up and get them ready to go for 2024. So essentially you come on, let's just talk photo, for example. So you come on as an assistant, okay? We try to bring an assistant to every job to have, for two reasons. Number one, extra hands on site, but number two, for experience purposes. We're looking to hire people that are wanting to stay and be a part of a team, be a team player, right? So, sometimes we hit roadblocks, sometimes we hit hiccups, sometimes there's things where we can't pay a rate that people want right away off the bat. And to be honest with you, if I don't know you, I'm not going to pay you what I pay my guys who've been here for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. The same, not going to happen. I don't care if you are an award-winning photographer who's won gold at WPPI. I don't know how you are as a person, so why am I forking over money to you? So that's why we have a process of an onboarding. So start out as an assistant. You work your way through. It depends on how many weddings the more weddings that you sign up to do as an assistant, the better chance you have of becoming a second quicker, as long as the slots are available. So then from there, you move up to be a second photographer. And then once I see you consistently doing well and you're actively working and you're trying really hard and you're answering emails, answering jobs inquiries that come in, you're like, yes, I could take it. Yes, I can take it. That shows me you're dedicated. And then I'm willing to try you out as a lead. And so that's the process, and it works same for video. Video has a lot more pressure because there's a lot more variables with video. You have audio, you have, video itself, you have drone, you have, other things, you have lights to set up, stands to set up, tripods. There's all these different things that we capture video separately than we do from photo. Not separately, differently. We capture the same way, just differently in the aspect of how many cameras we use. So that process is a little longer when it comes to video. You're in the assistant role a lot longer than you are on the second or lead role, because when it comes down to it, second and lead for video can interchange frequently. Okay. I mean, as long as you know what you're doing, you can change lead from second very easily. It's photo where it's a harder process to have someone lead versus someone to second, because we all know that leads are the ones in charge of the day. You're interacting with the couple firsthand. You're making sure the day runs smoothly, and you're capturing the most important stuff: bridal party, family, lead portrait, bride prep, all that fun jazz. So that's pretty much how our process works, from onboarding all the way through to full-time
That's
shooting.
gold as well, because a lot of people can pretty much bullshit just maybe from one interview type of a thing, You may not see those red flags. You may not see you're an actual quality worker and everything as well. So through the assistant process, you can really see, okay, they really actually do want to do it. They really do want to be a team player.
I think what you were saying was, what it sounds like is that, you basically leads are associates, and that's true. A lot of times lead photographers are our associates. We call them artists. I don't sell them. I don't even sell. I hate using that word sell. I really do.
I do too.
I hate that word sell. And I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. A lot of people, I think that's something that a lot of people do, and they shouldn't. It's about an experience. You're not an object. You're not selling them an object. You are having them invest in an experience. That's a key thing. And so with our associates, when it comes to that, our pricing structure is relatively the same. It's very, very small margin of difference between me and Marley versus our entire team shooting. There's really no big difference. I was talking with a photographer. His name is Mike Morby. For those who know him from this area, I had a phone call with him a little while ago because he has a very similar structure to what I'm trying to achieve in the years to come. And our businesses align very, very much in together. I met him out at WPPI in Las Vegas back in March, and I started chat with him, started chatting with other people that we both know, and we got on a phone call. When I got home, we started talking, and a lot of it comes down to how your client approaches viewing your website and the message you're trying to put across. So we're in the process currently of changing our brand a slight bit to a different name, different logo. Not drastically where you won't know it's the same company, but enough where it gets that idea of Tom Russo out of everyone's heads, because that's a big struggle too, is that my name is the business. So we're changing it to Russo Photo and Film Co. That is our new brand name. It's going to launch sometime over the summer. once Marley and I get married, it's going to be like we're married, here's our new brand. Like, we're going to make a whole big announcement of it, and we're just going to kind of switch it and gear it a different way so that when people come looking for our company, they're not looking for me. That's the big problem. So with our associates, we have 5 of them. So it's myself and Marley. We have Nick, Antonio, and Joey. We have 5 people on the lead photographer associate side, and the rest of our team are working their way up to being lead photographers. We have a couple more that we trickle in that can be leads if they decide to do so, but that's our 5 core team of photographers. When we talk to clients, we present it in that fashion. On our website, if you go on our website, hit portfolio, underneath it, you'll see all 5 names drop down. You can view everyone's portfolios. It was little nuggets I took from that conversation that really helped propel us a little bit further, and prompting it is another big thing to do. Prompting your clients. Have you looked at anyone's work on our website? Which photographer or photographers are you interested in? Have you had a chance to look at some portfolios? Do you know what style speaks best to you? And it's those simple questions that I ask on a consultation that gets them thinking, okay, this is more than just a one-man show.
Exactly. And that way they can kind of be framed in that. And so it looks like you have separate portfolios per the photographer, so they can get a feel of the little nuances that all these photographers have and everything as well. So you have your lead team, you have people who have made it up to maybe second shooting, then you have your assistants and people working up that kind of hierarchy and ladder right there. Love that.
Yes.
As far as red flags you've noticed as working with more and more associates, what are a few red flags that you've noticed that you can advise people to look out for as well when they're in the hiring process?
Great question. So some red flags I looked out for, and I still do, are commitment, quality of work, and experience. I guess you can say a lot of people are great on paper. They're the biggest bullshit artists on paper. But when it comes to actually getting out in the field and doing work, I could sniff you left and right. If I know that you're out there not doing a good job, or you're in it for the wrong reason, I will let you go. My big thing, and I tell this to clients too who are asked questions about our associates, is about culture. I learned that from you guys, right? About how culture is truly important when it comes to a team and a camaraderie and just having a good time. If I notice that you're not, fitting in well, you're not producing quality work, you're not following the guidelines that we've set for the company to keep consistency throughout our brand, I'm going to let you go. Period. I don't care how talented you are. If you're not just, here's my thought process, right? You have agreed to work for a company. Okay. I learned this from Crystal, and this was a huge nugget I took from her and one of the hundreds of conversations we've had. And if you're not willing to invest and to work with the company and work with the guidelines that they've set, shoot similar to how they shoot, if they do flat lay photography, learning that process, wanting to do it, then why did you sign up to work for that company? So if you have associates, or when you're hiring associates, make sure you're asking them questions that are not related to the job. Why shouldn't we hire you? Why should we not? Why shouldn't we hire you? What's a special skill that you have? If you could have a dream job, what would it be?
Pretty much.
Yes.
With
Oh,
those
yes.
types of questions. Yeah.
Yes. Because it's like, okay, what do you shoot on? Okay. Great. I'm a Canon shooter. Okay. Awesome. How many years of experience do you have? 5. Okay. That great. That's awesome. Cool. But it doesn't tell me about you. Right? So interview questions are really important. I've had guys who've called me on the phone, people asking, oh, I see your company. I see you have an associate team. I'd love to join it, blah, blah, blah. And that's great. That's awesome. We hired this one kid who's based in New York City. His name is Ryan. We love the guy. He's super cool. NYU, freshman in college, super young, but he's super talented. And he's in one of our assistants. He works for our video team, and he's great. And he comes when he can, but he's a guy that we looked for, and he reached out to me just on the spot, out of the blue. And we hired him as a paid assistant. Our assistants get paid $20 an hour, and I know we're going to go into that in a bit, but $20 an hour is what our assistants will make. They'll cap out at $200 for a day. And yeah, he's great. So sometimes you do get those types of people where they'll reach out to you, and that just shows me and Nick and I talk about our team all the time when it comes to our video department, that you see the commitment, you see the drive, you see people asking the questions, wanting to learn. If you come in and you're just pompous, I know this, I've been doing this for this long, and I'm in the industry, yada yada yada, I'm not going to work with you, I'm going to let you go. I remember the first round of associates we hired. I remember, it's funny. I remember hiring this guy, and he was based in New York City. His work was super good. I met him on Zoom. He was great. We chatted. I hired him. I was like, good, strong guy. I can send him work. Awesome. And then I never heard from the guy. And I assigned him a job, and he said, yes, I'm available. I'll do it. I was like, great. I have a couple that would be perfect for you, blah, blah, blah. Well, all of a sudden, like a whole month goes by, and I said, I wonder if he reached out to this couple. And funny enough, they reached out to me and said, hey, Tom, hope all is well. We haven't heard from our photographer yet. And I said, really? And so I called them. I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm taking care of it today. You should get an email from your new photographer by the end of tomorrow. And I fired the guy on the spot. I said, dude, sorry, you don't have a place here anymore. He goes, I was away in Puerto Rico, blah, blah. I said, I don't care where you were.
Doesn't matter.
I don't care. You could have been in Kalamazoo. I don't care. You didn't do your job. And so I let him go. So look out for those red flags. Are they committed? Do they have positive energy? Do they fit with your team? And are they in it for the right reason?
Love that. That's gold. That's gold. And just so to reference, just for people who may not know, Crystal is my wife, also lead coach in the WLMA. So awesome. And now getting a feel of this as well. When it comes to training, now you're hiring people, you're starting to find some quality there to get associates to maybe the style and standard of quality that you're looking for your brand. What has your step-by-step training process looked like?
Yeah, that's great. So it's still evolving as we speak. Excuse me. So it's still evolving as we speak, of course. But the thing that we've really figured out was that having guidelines is really helpful. And it's not guidelines that keep you in a creative box. It's guidelines to say, this is how we shoot certain sections of the day. And it's more of you're trying to achieve this look. We don't like distortion. We don't like, we're professionals. People hire us because our quality of work is there. This is how we achieve that quality of work. And so we have guidelines for preps, respectively, and examples of what to do and what not to do. Excuse me. It's like, this is a TRP prep. This is not a TRP prep. I literally have photo examples of what to do and what not to do. And so we had Zoom calls. We have done in-person trainings. We have done other things. And it is hard to get. So here's the thing. Here's the catch. It's hard to get people all together under the same roof to do an in-person training when they're all over the state and they're freelancers. Yeah. It's just the nature of it, okay? So it's a different type of training than you would do if you all went to work the same day, or if you had an office. Like, we don't have an office, right? I work out of the apartment with Marley, Nick's from his house, and our photographers are from their houses, right? And so when you don't have that, it's hard to put something together. But in the off chances that we do happen to be in the same room, we do trainings, we do team buildings, we do flat lay trainings, we'll do Zoom calls. I have PowerPoint slides, I have onboarding materials, I have all these things that Marley and I have developed so that when our new round of associates come in, or our new trainees work themselves up to being lead photographers, lead videographers, it's just, the nature of it. So I think the guides help just to get a general foundation, but also the stages of building up to lead or second or assisted, that also helps, because then they learn how you work and the process, right? And it's almost, you can mold them. Like, if they're coming brand new into the industry, you can mold them into working like in a way that works well with your business. Their creative aspect is the creative aspect, but if you have a successful business, clearly the methods and the streamlining you've done and the tactics you've used and the sales scripts you've used work. So teach these people how to do the same thing, because it clearly works for you. It should work for them, you would think, but
Exactly. That's gold as well, because I think there's probably a lot of people who maybe they hire their associates and it's just fresh cut, and they have to train them everything. They may shoot this way and you're trying to get them to shoot this way, but if you can mold them from the ground up, like you're saying, from assistants to second shooting, they're learning that entire process. By the time they become lead, there's maybe very very little that you actually have to teach them at that
Yep.
point. But pretty much you have these set guidelines. These set principles here is what makes Russo photography. And then they have that flexibility from creativity in between there.
Right. And don't be afraid to also give feedback to your shooters too. Like one of our associates, he just shot a session for us. Love the guy, super talented. But I said, this looks fantastic, but we need more. Like sometimes, if you don't, like it's almost obvious. It was an engagement session, so it's not the end of the world, but it's also if like people search for our galleries and you say, well, I only got this photo, but these people got this amount of photos. There's a clear disconnect, and we don't want disconnect. You don't want disconnect in your brand, in your business, from shooter to shooter, because then people start to talk, and once people talk and your reputation gets out there, it's all downhill, and then you go under, and that's not what we want. So nip it in the butt in the very beginning. When you catch it, say something, because it does go a long way, and that also goes into guidelines and standards. So,
Love that. Love that. Now, what I know a lot of people have questions on, what is the range of what you suggest other photographers or filmmakers to pay their associates? How have you set that up?
great. Don't do what I did. Put it that way. In the beginning, at least. Don't do what I did. I shot myself in the foot. So when I first started, the pricing structure has stayed. We've obviously grown, and I'm very generous. And I've learned that you don't have to be, as long as you give a good quality experience and you're good to your photographers and your videographers and your staff. They'll be good back to you. They'll do it for whatever price. So we, TRP, and future, aka Russo Photo and Film Co. in the future, if you're watching this in 6 months from now, we are structured this way. So let's start with the assistant. So photo and or video, the assistant is $20 an hour. Okay, so $20 an hour, you cap out at $200 for the day. 10 hours technically, but if you're 8 hours, it's $180. If you're there 9 hours, it's we work it where you cap at $200 depending on how much assistant work, or if you end up being a third videographer. If you're video, your assistants become thirds, because photo we only need 3 people. So it's $20 an hour for assistants. Second photographers get paid between $500 and $600 a job. Okay. It roughly breaks down to between $65 and $75 an hour, give or take. It depends on the hours and depends on the shooter. So a lot of my seconds, when I photograph, I'm be dead honest, I'm picky with who I shoot with. It's because I love my team, but as far as like just workflow, I shoot better with some others than not, and that's just the nature of it, right? So some of my seconds will make 600, some will make 500. A lot of that has to do with experience. Also, a lot of it has to do with just hours that they're there. I could shoot a reception on my own. It's very easy, very simple. If Marley's with me or if Nick's with me, we're there all together till the very end. So they cap out at 600. Okay. If you're doing it by the hourly rate, we max out at 8 hours for second photographers during 8 hour spans, and that's $65 an hour here. Okay. You can go up to $85 an hour. Okay. But typically 65 is where we sit. A lot of that has to do with just amount of jobs you take and the budget for the year. Okay. And then our leads. So the initial 6 or 7 that we're now really 8 that we have, leads get paid $120 an hour, cap out at 10 hours, which is $1,200 plus $200 for engagement sessions, which are paid separately. Okay. And then on top of that, everyone can get travel reimbursement if we have it, plain and simple. Okay.
Yeah.
So we cap out at $1,200. Most people will shoot for leads. They'll get paid $80 to $90 an hour. Some are $1,000 for the full day, $100 an hour, $120 an hour. So you're ranged between $80 and $120 for the leads. Depends on how much you make them do also, and I'll get into that in a second. And then your seconds between, I would say, $375 to $600. I've seen as low as $375. I've seen as high as $600. It also depends on your market. But remember something. If you want to keep your shooters and build a strong brand, pay them well. Plain and simple. I have not had anyone leave. Except, I've had 2 people not continue on because they just got out of the industry. Cool, fine, respect that. But everyone else stuck around because I pay probably the best out of anyone in the state. I've been told that, period. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for like especially a very high-end experience,
yeah,
you're talking maybe 800, 1200, maybe 1500, kind of in that realm, depending on how your business structure is.
right.
If you're maybe in the lower end structure, maybe t not charging as high, in
Right.
that 375 to 500, $600 range type of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now
Yeah.
getting a feel of this. Oh yeah,
No,
continue.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, especially what a lot of people are probably going to start experience as they bring on their first associate, or maybe once they get to maybe even two, three associates,
Hmm.
isn't necessarily everything else, but it's the systems and management
Yeah.
that's going to be totally new for them
Sure.
in this area. What are some pieces of advice that you have when it comes to systems in play, managing, kind of leading, your team of associates as well?
Yeah, that's great. So, as far as systems and management goes, let's just talk 2023, for example. So, at the end of last year, all of our lead photography positions are assigned when the job books. Okay, so the way that we structure it, at least right now, and this will change over the next few years because we're in the process currently, is when a client inquires, right? If I'm available and I want the job, I'll take it. It's my job. This is what I do, right? So
Yeah.
I love creating. I love the art. I hate the editing. I hate the back end work that we do, but it's a part of the job. So I will
Yeah.
take the first dibs on the jobs. Marley will take second dibs on the jobs. Nick will take third dibs on the jobs. Antonio and Joey, and it goes down from there. However, so let's just say we have two weddings booked on a day. I've got one. Marley's got the other one. Okay, we're both leads assigned to respective jobs. If I say, okay, well, we got a third inquiry for the same day, I say, guys, who's available? I have a group me. So we hired one guy who doesn't have an iPhone. I was like, oh shit, what do I do? So I went in and I created group me. It's cheap. It's actually free.
Group me.
We don't need Slack channels. We don't need Discords. We
Yeah.
just have it's a chat that just has all of our departments all divvied out, photo, video, everyone together. So I'll reach out and say, guys, who's available? Here's the date. Here's the venue. Yes, we've met with them, or no, we haven't. And usually Joey, Antonio, or Nick are the first three to respond. So that's why they're our leads, right? They're our first three to respond. So
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, great. And then if I end up getting them on a consultation, I will say to them, have you looked at our photographers? Yes, we have. Who are you interested in? I'm interested in Joey and Nick. Great. They're both available for your day. We talk through the process. And if it books, I send them a booking email that says, congratulations, you've been booked. Here's the bride's, here's the date, the venue, the couple's name, the bride's contact, the groom's contact, and the details that I have gotten from them initial consultation. Then from there, they have 48 hours to reach out to the couple. In that time, they usually do. And they have to CC the company's email, which is hello@tomrussophotography.com. All of our associate leads have individual respective emails. I have one. Marley has
Yeah.
one. Nick has one. Joey, Antonio, etc. from there. Okay. And then the lead photographers are responsible for planning out the engagement sessions, letting the company know when they're being shot. Okay. And then obviously talking through them with timeline for the wedding. It just makes life easy because we're not the middleman. They're able to build this relationship with our clients throughout the process. So let's jump back to engagement photos. Once the session is photographed, they'll send us over the files. They have 48 hours to send the files. If they don't send the files, we withhold their pay. 48 hours. And typically, everyone's been super cool. If it's a Friday and they have a busy weekend, I'm not going to ask for photos. I'm not touching those things till Tuesday, Wednesday, the following week, anywho. So it's fine if they get it to me on Monday or Tuesday. So once I get the files, they get paid. And the same thing goes for weddings. It's the same exact process. For weddings, I typically will ask certain photographers the leads to grab the second photographer's files and send them all to me at once. It makes life easy. And for weddings and engagements, photographers are responsible for holding on to the raw files for 6 months at minimum. Some will hold them on forever because that's what they use them for their own content, and some will just
Yeah.
get rid of them after the 6 months, which is fine. It's all written in their contracts. And then same thing goes for weddings, and then they get paid. It's relatively simple. I've developed the process. Everyone loves it. It makes life easy, and as long as our associates are just communicating with our clients It makes their experience great, and obviously they can connect with the company if they need to. And I tell them that, I said, I'm here for you. I handle your post-production process. These guys will be reaching out to you via email to set up calls and consultations and all that jazz. But that's typically the workflow for photo. Now, for video, it's slightly different. Video, the way that we work with video is all of the lead videographers and second videographers and even second photographers are assigned at the tail end of the previous season. So at the end of this year, in October, Nick and I and Marley will sit down and we'll put a Google form together. And we'll say, here's the jobs, here's the dates, the locations, and the venues and the towns, etc. Check off which ones you're available for. And this goes for second photographers, lead video, lead second video, and assistants on all ends. So once we get all of those forms down, we have deadlines to get us back the forms by X date. We'll take a week or so and we'll sit through and we'll go through the photo. Me and Marlo do photo, Nick will do video with me, and we'll assign everyone jobs. We try to be as fair as possible. Obviously, the more you take, the more you get paid, the more chance you get to go higher up. And that's how that process works. So once once we assign all the jobs, we will send an email and say, hey, here's the dates we've assigned you for venues. Please confirm these dates. Once they're back and confirmed, they're locked in. That's it. End of story. Yeah. It goes for all aspects. So it's a little different for seconds and video. Lead photography is definitely a more hands-on experience because you are part of the planning process. It's like if you run your own business and all that jazz. Seconds are just, you're the second photographer. You're there. It's a job you're assigned to. Now, one thing I do want to mention. When you're hiring your associates, and I should have mentioned this earlier, when you're hiring your associates, make sure they are there to be a team player. In this aspect, don't hire someone that's trying to grab work off of you. Don't do it. Have something in your contract that says you cannot, you are representing this company, this brand, and if you hand out business cards, try to get another client off that wedding, it's grounds for immediate termination. And it's written very black and white in our contracts. Luckily, knock on wood, our team has been great. We haven't had that problem. And that's just an ounce of respect. My thought process is if you have joined a company to be an associate photographer for them.
You can't be marketing yourself.
Thank you. Exactly. So
100%. This is gold as far as that. Now, what have you done, especially when it comes to, you're working with a lot of these, you might have briefly mentioned this in that process, but you're working with all these photographers and videographers and dates and people. How do you avoid things like lost cards, data, maybe, not getting to you in time, making sure they stick to those deadlines, as far as uploading into the hard drives and sending all that stuff as well?
Right. So first things first is everyone on our team is required to have dual card slots in their cameras. Period. End of story. Dual card slots must be a thing. If myself or Marley or Nick are not on the job, specifically for video purposes, for Nick to not be there as the second photographer or lead video, and Marley, same deal. If I'm not there, when people submit stuff, they send notes. And it says, this at this job, or they'll shoot me a text or give me a call, say, hey, just giving you the heads up, this happened at this wedding. And if they don't send footage, like we just had a wedding on Saturday, it's Tuesday, second video hasn't sent his footage yet. So I'll be calling him to say, hey, dude, where's your footage? We need it. Like, you have to give it to us because of our deadlines. Our editing team has a deadline to meet as well. So typically, if they don't submit their photos, they lose photos from something. I've done it before. One of my cards crapped out, and it didn't record, and I turned off the camera, and luckily I was the secondary shot for the kiss, but it completely gone. Those files, the kiss shots, they're gone. Luckily Nick was the main shot, so he had it no problem. But it was a really cool wide artistic shot. I was like, shit, this file's gone. So that's why we also send two photographers. That's the other reason. But if that happens, as long as we are notified, it is what it is. Technology is technology. This is the risk people take when hiring, photographers digitally. I don't care what anyone says, it's digital technology. Nothing corrupts. It doesn't break. That's bullshit because things happen, and be transparent with your clients. So if they don't submit photos on time, we just withhold their pay.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't send photos, we don't pay you. And if you don't send photos, we will somehow come after you to get the photos, because they're not, I'm not an asshole. I'm not mean. I'm very, very relaxed, very, lenient. I have my systems, but I'm also super understanding and flexible, right?
Yeah.
But if you go 2 weeks and I'm supposed to have previews from another client, well, it's been 2 weeks. Why aren't you sending photos? Well, my internet's not good. Well, go somewhere and figure it out. Get me those files. You want to get paid, get me the files. And yeah, I mean, it's really, we take it on a case by case basis when it comes to, corruption and files and loss of data, which again, knock on wood, has only happened once. And it was my fault. It was me. I did it. And it wasn't really losing the files. I just put them on a hard drive that I unplugged and never checked. And 2 years later, I found the files. Go figure. So that happened. And I just reshot that session. But yeah, for the most part, dual card slots, getting us data, setting them in a cloud, backing them up on hard drives of their respective, putting in a cloud, and we can download them, and then just making sure that everyone submits stuff on time. So
That's awesome. Curious about this as well, because I've come across some students who have asked this question. And
Sure.
like, let's say, people kind of want to build like an associate team. They tried before, they went through a really bad experience and failed, and they said they're never going to do this again. What would something that you would tell them?
do it, try it.
Yeah,
No,
a
I
little
mean,
bit more.
yeah, no, of course. So what I would say is sit down and create a system. Okay. Do some networking, reach out to some, like for example, I reached out to this guy, Mike, who I became friends with. Him and I have various business systems that align. So I got a lot of nuggets from him just because he's in my market and he literally does it daily. And so reaching out, talking to people, guys, if you're interested in this and you want the resource and the help, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you and get on a Zoom call, within the amounts of millions of things I do, and just give you some nuggets. Listen back to this podcast. This is, there's a lot of good info here. Figure out systems that will work, and then go back and do a business audit. Why didn't it work last time I did this? What did I do wrong that just didn't work? Was it that I wasn't, providing enough pay? Was it I didn't have a good structure? Did I not have, enough management in place? There's things that clearly that there were holes that you needed to be filled. So fill them, fill up those holes, and try it. Start out slow. Don't do what I did. Don't hire 6 photographers, have no jobs for them, don't know what the hell you're doing, and saying good luck.
Yeah.
Structure it, do systems, create portfolios. Don't just start selling associate jobs with having no work from that associate. If you have, let's just say you have 50 weddings in a year, okay, or even 35 weddings per year, and you have 5 different second photographers that you've worked with or you're going to work with, and you want to try to see if they can become associates for you. Start having them take lead point, hero shot. Start having them shoot a little bit with the bride prep. Have some shooting with the groom prep. Have them start taking on some lead job roles on the day of the wedding, like shooting the family portraits, leading the bridal party, leading the portrait session. Get those lead photo shots that you can use to then sell, quote unquote, sell your associates. It works. That's what we did. I had Nick and Marley, Joey and Antonio second and lead and do things, and I started grabbing work from what they did, and boom, a year and a half later, we finally have, it took a while and it shouldn't have, but it did, and that's okay. And I finally have 5 solid portfolios from people that shoot for us. So
That's awesome.
that's a really great way to do it, is go in-house that you work with and then expand from there.
Love that. And I think what probably the main thing that people may have issues with is sometimes when they try it for the first time, they bring on an associate, they may have a little bit too much trust that they're going to follow the processes that they
Yes.
need. So
Yes.
especially with that first one, you really need to have these guidelines. You really need to be on top of it and communicate, with those photographers, and choose, like you just said, choose people that you already trust to get in there, but still for those first few times, be on it before you let go and relax a little bit, so those red flag issues don't happen.
Yes.
I have to get on a meeting really soon. I have 2 more questions I really
That's
want to
okay.
dive into as well.
Let's go for it.
Red flags when it comes. Oh, not red flags. What do you think you should? When do you think you should fire an associate?
After strike 1, but it depends on the strike.
Yeah.
I would say so after strike 1, if it constitutes for immediate termination, when they're
Yeah.
when they're trying to solicit at other weddings, when they consistently are they're just not following. You've asked them once, it was a thing that they could fix, and they didn't do it again. So that you do it, fool me once, shame on me. You fool me twice, shame on me, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, where they're really they messed up really bad, and you give them that second chance, but like that's really like the striking point, and you just let them go. The other aspect of it is when you start seeing people not, when they're starting to fall off the edge, like when they're not improving, or they're starting out really hot and strong and then they just fall off. You have to see and evaluate your team. Be the person that gets the eyes on all the photos. Okay, see what they're producing, and also if you have suspicion about something that someone's doing, have them second with you on a wedding, but make them do the lead work, right? So have them second with you, have them shoot the groom prep, but then also have them lead the portrait session, have them do stuff you would do. Okay, be there, the bride and groom hired you, whatever, but start to see if it's really what you're hearing is true. And then that gives you the grounds for termination. Or in some cases, which I'm actually going to start doing, which I think is a great idea that I took from another conversation I had with a fellow photographer here in Jersey, is second for all of your lead associates. Be the second photographer on every single wedding. Every year, do it at least once or twice. Every season, go in and be the second photographer on certain lead jobs. So like, I'll do it with Joey. I'll do it with Antonio. I'll do it with Nick. I've worked second with Nick all the time. I work second with Marley all the time, so don't worry about those two. But Nick and Joey and Antonio, I will second with them at least once just to see how their flow works. Just to get eyes. So that's a great way to do it, is be on site with them, and when you see inconsistencies, if they don't fix it, then you just let them go. It's plain and simple.
Love it. This is great advice, Tom. What's one piece of advice, especially, maybe for our WLMA members wanting to starting to dive into this, one piece of advice you have for photographers wanting to get into building, maybe their first associate team?
Great question. My biggest piece of advice is make sure that you are ready. Meaning not just you as a person, but your business is ready for it. Don't jump. I see these posts. I hear these people ask me these questions, and I well for sure know they're not ready. And I've told them, I'll say, you're not ready for this. Don't jump the gun early. Just don't do what I did. Please don't fall into the trap of, the money thing, right? It was like, I'm missing out all this money. I'm just going to do it. And yeah, did it work out for me? Sure, of course, absolutely always works out for people when, everything is always going to be okay. Make sure you have a strong brand position. You have a really solid, consistent art in your work. You have at least 40 weddings on your books, and you're starting to see consistently getting double inquiries. That's when you know maybe it's time.
That's so starting to break.
Correct. And you have a workflow that allows you to handle this many weddings. Automated systems, automated emails, AI editing, management. Yeah, just having like even one other person. If you hire a social media manager or office manager, associate, social media manager, have that. Okay, now you have two people you can delegate between two jobs. Now you, as the owner, can focus on hiring a team and hire them once. I know Hunter did this. Hunter, him and I had a nice, great conversation a few months back. He hired one person that does social media and is an associate for him. Great, having one. Then you build two, build on to four, now 6. Now we're up. We have, there's 10 photographers, and we have 10 photographers, and there's 8 on video, and there's about 6 or 7 on the assistant team. So there's like, we have like 20 some odd people on our team, and that's between all departments, all levels. So like, you'll get there. Just be patient. So
Love that. And this is absolutely great advice. WLA members, if you're listening, be sure to take advantage as well. Add any questions you have in the comments as you're watching this video. Where can we find you as well, Tom?
Sure. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook at TomRussoPhotography.com, and our website is www.TomRussoPhotography.com. Find us there. Give us a follow. Find us on Pinterest, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're on all of them. And if you, like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. In some free time I have, I would be happy to answer them. And it was good to talk to you again, Jordan.
This was awesome. Thank you so much, Tom.
You're welcome, bud.